1. I used to work in the electronics section of a toy store. The holidays are, to say the least, a tad busy, you know? Especially with the amount of sales and whatnot going on. And we had a lot of sales. Our sales items, especially for video game accessories, tended to go fast. The problem came when there were items similar or comparable. One would be one sale while the other wasn't, and it made a big mess of things. A lady came in one day, packed store and lots of chaos, and one of the things she picked up was a video game controller cover. I scanned the item and it comes up at $14. That doesn't sit well with her.
The sign says it's $12. Why are you charging me $14?
The sign is for a similar item, not this one. The sign even indicates the manufacturer.
Well, this controller cover was underneath that sign and I want the discount.
Ma'am, I can't give you that discount. Customers pick things up and put them down in the wrong place all day in this store. We can't give discounts based off of that. I couldn't even make the computer process the discount if I wanted to.
Don't argue with me. My husband is an attorney. Get a manager to fix this.
Ma'am, it's going to be a while before a manager can get over here. Even then, she's going to say that you can't get this discount.
Call them over. They will fix this. My husband is an attorney.
I call my manager over and proceed to be absolutely useless. I can't leave my register to help people because I'm already mid-transaction. I can't scan her next item or delete the item I just scanned, dumb safety measures. And it's taking forever for a manager to come around because there are people who actually need assistance. All the while, the lady in front of me is staring at me, muttering nonsense, and reminding me over and over that her husband is an attorney. I'm just sitting there, wanting to snap back with that he's going to sue a store for a matter of a $2 discount. Of course, he was stupid enough to marry you, so maybe he will. Either way, I'm damn sure we can afford better lawyers than the lady who can't fork over an extra $2. But I keep my mouth shut. My manager comes and listens to the lady. To my horror, she approves the discount and immediately leaves, because she's flustered and doesn't want to deal with her. I scan the next item from her cart.
That's not the right price either.
It's not on sale. These are right over there. I point, and the price is displayed clearly. If you want this changed too, I'm going to have to call a manager again.
Fine, I'm done. I don't want any of it.
She leaves her few items at my register. I have to call my manager back over to cancel out the sale and take the stuff to be put away. My manager is, of course, miffed that the lady was able to waste so much of her time. Oh, and no, we never heard from this mysterious attorney. 2. Not my story, one for my fiancée. Happened early today. She was at the Walmart in our town doing some shopping. I'm not a big fan of heading into stores right now, and it has never bothered her. I'm way more nervous about the Rona, sue me. On her way in, she got stopped at the door. This isn't particularly odd, given the current state of things. The policy for this Walmart, or all of them, not sure, is that not too many people should be in the store at a time. And that makes perfect sense. Most people, customers and employees alike, are wearing their face masks and gloves, so generally the environment seems quite clean. After watching for only a few moments, she was let in. The store was slightly crowded, despite the attempts of keeping a low population, but my wife had decided that there was one item she wanted more than anything else. Sugar-free pudding. Not for me. That shit makes my stomach turn. Wading through the less crowded aisle, she made her way into what she thought was a pudding aisle, but alas, a horrific lack of glucoseless, savory, soft sweets were seemingly absent. So, only slightly deterred, the rest of the grocery shopping took place. Detergent, paper towels, Hot Pockets. Hot Pockets. And food in general came. For a while, after getting literally all the other groceries, she tried to find another aisle for pudding, one that didn't exist. So she made her way back to where she had started this journey. And there she was, atop a pedestal in front of all that delicious, desirable pudding. Karen. She was tall, blonde hair pulled back into a ponytail. She seemed older, not the typical age of a Karen, but one could be forgiven for a slight moment of mistaken assumption that she was an employee. She stood atop a metal stepping ladder that had a cart attached to the front with a myriad of boxes of stock, waiting to be introduced to their shelves. However, something caught my fiancé's eye. The boxes were full of baking supplies, flour, baking soda, the whole 9 yards. all of which belonged on the other side of the store, unless Walmart had introduced some kind of plain clothes division. She had her ungloved hands reaching all the way into a back shelf of probiotics, a shelf that, given the woman's height, the stepladder wasn't technically needed. She even had her face only a few inches away from the product without a mask on, trying to read whatever she thought was on those bottles. My fiancée, ever the non-confrontational woman she is, kept her mouth shut and simply watched the woman take the probiotics out, look at them, put one on the stocking cart, put every other one back, and continue to fondle the probiotics like she was coming onto them. And then the horrifying moment struck. Her eyes searched around and landed on my fiancé. "I don't work here," she scoffed dismissively, and then turned back to continue her ministrations, which left my fiancée baffled, trying her best not to look like she needed anything. She didn't mind waiting for whatever this Karen was up to, as the pudding she wanted so desperately was going to be there by the time she was done getting to know the bottles of probiotics. After another minute or so of waiting, the woman turned again with a loud huff, knowing that the pesky, nervous shopper was still standing there awkwardly.
"Do you need something? I don't work here."
My fiancé finally squeaked out a little, "I don't mind waiting," which dragged another sigh out of the woman.
"Unbelievable. If you have a problem, learn to ask someone who works here next time."
She stomped her feet down the 3 metal steps, onto the floor of the aisle, and pushed the cart forward with such a ferocity that the orange aisle marker, if you frequent the store you certainly know, fell to the ground with a clap. The fall had been enough to bust the corner off the sign, but the Karen had her sights locked not on the broken property, the carnage laying at her feet, but instead at my fiancé. With the speed and fear of a mouse, my fiancé finally obtained that half-liquid, half-solid gold she had been wanting so desperately, the sugar-free pudding. Like she was holding the Holy Grail, and a boulder was about to roll over her, my fiancé dipped out of the aisle, stepping over the broken piece of sign in the process, and fled the scene. Before she could get too far, she heard the last of the woman's whinging. More maskless huffing and puffing, along with another set of stomps, to surely start fondling the probiotics once again. But oh, no. This isn't where it ends. As my fiancée was at the self-checkout slowly bagging her groceries to make sure she had as few bags as possible, another horrid incident with this woman began. Now, to set the stage, let me be frank. My wife has a peculiar way of handling herself in public. She always had her head down, fiddling with a fidget cube in one hand and stacking groceries with the other. To the untrained eye, she'd look far less independent than she really is. As the Karen wound up finally deciding what probiotic she wanted, she came around the self-checking area with only that single bottle, whatever half-liquid, half-solid gold she had, good for her. Now the self-checkout lines have a generally short length, evenly spread out across most of the little area that they're in, with only one person to take care of any malfunctions or bagging errors. Short-staffed, likely. The Karen, bottle in hand, upon seeing my fiancé once again, practically beeline to the assistant. My fiancé has a massive babyface issue going on, so the next thing she heard wasn't surprising.
"Excuse me, this little kid needs someone to help them. Do you know that I had to help her in the back because you aren't staffed enough? I should be getting paid for this at this point,"
she loudly protested, a hair flip going along with her tirade. "Oh, the assistant, clearly caught off guard, asked, 'Is that your daughter?'
"No, if she was, I would be even more upset about how little help you have here, so do you mind?"
Before the assistant could come up and help my socially inept fiancé, she managed to let out a, "Sorry, I don't need any help," before practically breaking the joystick off her cube in a mortified moment of fidgeting.
"Are you sure? Because you sure took plenty of time just standing there and waiting for me to help you. Do I look like an employee here? She gestured to the floral, short-sleeved shirt she was wearing. At this point, the self-checkout assistant seemed to somewhat understand what was going on, and tried to redirect the wild animal's age. "Ma'am, if you'd like, I can talk to my supervisor about getting you some coupons for your help." Tactful.
Upon hearing that she'd finally be paid for all the work she did, she let out one final relaxing sigh.
Yes, that'd be wonderful.
She folded her arms, bottle of probiotics slushing again in her hands.
Gosh, I'm so sorry. All this virus stuff just has me so worked up right now.
She emphasized this with a sniffle, rubbing her nose against the side of her hand. Yeah, real worried. Regardless of whether or not Karen got her precious coupons, my poor wife-to-be decided that she didn't want to stick around for the festivities. Quickly finishing up her bagging, and not nearly as compact as she'd like, she made her way out of the store after paying the terminal. In fact, the fact that she had 3 bags filled up 2/3, and not 2 fully filled bags, is what she was most upset about upon getting home. Really puts things into perspective. 3. This happened at the store I work, but it was ages ago. At the time, I was lower in the totem pole and had this manager who was quite a character. Seriously, I have so many stories of this person. Like that one time he was almost shot by his own gun by another employee during a midnight citizen arrest on a cat burglar, which is a story all of its own. Or him almost getting his dick bitten off by a rat, but I'm digressing. First, you need to get the setup of the store. We had this huge storage room, almost the size of the store itself, connected by a bay door to the store level, and both buildings were connected by a basement. This door wasn't always latched or closed, since employees would come and go at all times to replenish the stock. This is crucial. We also had a mice problem at the time, though calling them mice is like calling the Mariana Trench a puddle. They were huge. I've seen one that was the same size of a small dog. They could eat through cinder blocks. They could run on electrical cables and just stop and stare at you like a diabolical and deranged red-eyed Batman Lovecraftian nightmare. And I swear on my gaming console that I once saw one beating up a cat. Along with the mice problem came the cat one. The house that was on the side of the building was vacant for years, and quite dilapidated too. The house explained the rats. The cats were neighborhood cats that found paradise and decided to settle and multiply. You get the picture, right? So it was around the holidays. I don't quite remember which one it was, though I could place my bet on Christmas time. The store was packed, queues that went to the back of the store and then wrapped around itself. At that time, I was in charge of the flow of the customers in and collecting the shopping baskets and carts. I am focused on that when I hear a loud bang and everybody freezes, total silence and confusion. Then suddenly, cats? Cats on shelves, cats under carts and people's feet, cats and kittens of all shapes and colors, an entire herd of them all over. It was chaos, it was madness, it was Sparta. You could just imagine some frantic classical song was playing in the background at that time, and go along with the pandemonium. I prefer 4 seasons of summer. And after them runs in my frantic manager with a broomstick in hand. Some of the cats hide beneath the shelves, others ran through the open door outside. But some saw this clear, huge pane of glass that was clean till it sparkled over one of the cashiers, and decided that was a good exit window. A run, then a leap, and bang, and it's raining cats. Hallelujah, it's raining cats. Amen. All over this well-dressed, bright blue 2-piece suit with a leather briefcase. Cat's meat arms, face in briefcase he raised to protect himself. Fight, fight, fight. All you could hear was the caterwauling from both, fur flying everywhere and claws sparkling at the lights. It was carnage. It was carnage. Finally, he bravely fought them off without help. Like, hell, we're getting anywhere near that. And they scattered to places unknown. The manager ran up to the man, offering to take him to the hospital for the scratches and bites. Here's where things get weird. He doesn't want to go. All he wants is $300 for the damages on the briefcase. Keeps insisting it's real leather and very expensive, while he bled all over his very bright royal blue suit with a bright red tie. The other manager walked in and ordered everything to resume, like what happened didn't just happen. Sid was taken to the hospital for shots. None of the cats was vaccinated, and 4 co-workers and me ended up on cat herding duty. Life resumed. I did end up adopting one of the beasts, this huge, and I mean huge, ginger monstrosity I ironically named Zemhina. Why the manager was chasing the cats? Nobody knows. He won't say. I would ask, but I'm happy not knowing. 4. Since my work requires me to move often, almost every year, I never invested in a quality printer and industrial paper cutter, which would be heavy to lug around. So I often use FedEx office when I need to print and cut, since in the end it's more affordable that way. I'm not sure why, but almost every time I use the paper cutter, which are out in the open for the public to use, people seem to always think I'm an employee, despite normally wearing jeans, a black graphic t-shirt, or flannel. One day, after this happened 3 times already, a guy wearing a Taco Bell shirt came up and asked me with help shipping packages. I was listening to music, so I didn't pay attention till he kept waving his hand in my face. I tried to ignore him, hoping he would go away. Finally, I just pretended to just notice him and said, "Oh, are you here with my food delivery? It was 3 tacos and a Baja Blast, right?" He looks confused and I continue. "I already paid through the app with my card, but you can just leave the food here, thanks." I think he was just more confused and thought I was a crazy person and slowly backed away and found a real employee to talk to. Over the last year I got used to this and just ended up helping people with their cutting, since normally it's a little old lady who needs yard sale flyers cut or something like that. About a few months ago in the FedEx office of the town I just moved out of, which had a nice immigrant owner who liked that I often helped explain to other customers how to use their cutter, printers and laminator, since it allowed them to focus on packages. I came in around right before 5 p.m. This location today closed at 7 p.m., but the employee, who was a college student, grumbled when I came in and noticed I was doing printing. He told me, "We're closing early today. I need to close up by 6 p.m. I understood and rushed to get my printing and cutting done as fast as possible. I was the only customer in the store. It was just this employee, another young employee in the back, I could hear but not see, and what looked like one of their friends who was hanging behind the counter and not in uniform. Seeing I was the only customer there for the next half hour, I kept being reminded every 5 minutes that they were closing and I needed to be out by 6 p.m. I guess they thought they could close up early, so I somewhat understood their frustration. I was the only thing keeping them from this, so rushed as fast as I could through a cutting. At about 5:30, an older lady came in and got a box of prints from the counter and realized they weren't cut. And though she requested this, the employee told her it wasn't part of the service. They were closing soon and wouldn't be able to do the cutting in time, but there was a public paper cutter currently being used by another customer, me, she could wait for. I guess he was trying to say I would hold her up, but there were 3 paper cutters and I was only using 1. I moved my stuff aside to give her space. I noticed her box was full of wedding invitations and she had trouble using the paper cutter and kept messing up her trashed ones. I decided to offer to help and cut some of her stuff. She was very grateful. After about every 10 sheets, I would slide the paper cutter into the trash can on the side of the counter before doing more cuts. Soon the employee came and took the trash bag out. He didn't put a new bag in. Because I didn't want to make picking paper out of an unbagged bin a chore on him, I had to keep walking across the store to the only other trash can, which took up a lot of time. I got the lady's invites cut and she thanked me and the store. I think she also assumed I was an employee, and left, and now I had only 10 minutes to finish my work. The employee just stared intently at me and kept saying, "We close in a few minutes, you need to wrap up." So I rushed as much as I could. 5 minutes till closing, I realized. I wouldn't be able to finish my cutting today, so started packing up. By now there was a huge pile of paper scraps on the counter. A lot came from other people who were here before me today, but the rest, I admit, were from my cutting, from the lady's invites and my stuff. If there was a trash can I could slide the paper in, that would be easier. But not wanting to leave a mess, I tried to pick up as much scraps as I could and walked over to the trash bin about 3 times trying to clean up. Yes, much harder since little scraps kept falling through and I had to bend down to pick up. Finally it was 6 p.m. and the employee yelled, "You need to go!" I was halfway through the trash can and really felt like I should have dropped it on the floor, but not wanting to be that guy, I placed it back on the paper cutter counter since it was closer than the trash can, got my stuff and walked out. As soon as I left, the employee yelled for me. I thought he was calling me because I left my phone or to thank me for helping that lady earlier. He wore a more calm but WTF face and said, "Really, man? You aren't going to clean up your mess?" I was trying to. I always do when I come here. But you kept saying I needed to leave by 6 p.m. I was in the middle of cleaning up when you told me it was 6 and I needed to go. Sorry, I was just following your orders. Yes, I am quiet-voiced and shy, so we weren't confrontational, but I just turned and left shaking since he was a foot taller than me. Not really an interesting event. I couldn't understand why he was upset, but I was still annoyed he was treating me the entire time like I was delaying him from closing up early. At FedEx, it had specific hours. Then tried to play innocent, overworked employee when he tried to make me feel guilty for leaving a mess when he was the one who yelled at me to leave in the middle of cleaning up. I moved out of that town 2 weeks later, so never had to deal with that store again. 5. This happened a while back, but remembering it always makes me smile. At my work, it gets unbearably packed, to the point that the line to the registers wraps around the back of the store, and you can't move anywhere without having to get out of someone's way. I was a fitting room person, and I had a huge line going on. All my rooms were full. And at every turn I was having a customer ask for a new size, a question about getting something online, and I still had to push for our rewards program all at the same time. It can be overwhelming when a customer decides to be rude during this time. However, there was a time when every customer was appreciative of what I would do for them. I had an older woman come up to me and wish to order something online, which I could do with a handheld device. This device can also purchase things in store so you don't have to wait in line at the registers. Except we do not tell people this because then we would be wasting all our time helping customers buy things on the floor. So I helped this customer out with ordering something at the same time that another middle-aged man was asking questions about some sizes for his daughter and a jacket he had. So I checked for him as well, and he was loitering around the fitting room waiting for his daughter to finish trying on clothes. The older woman I helped got the item she needed online, and then she has one shirt and she asked me if there was any way she can buy it with me and skip the line. I'm very used to telling customers that's not possible, even if I feel bad doing it. Except she was in a rush and she was very happy about how I ordered something online for her. The fitting room was starting to empty, but the line at the registers was curving around the entire store. I felt a little bad because she only wanted one small shirt, so I told her I would do it for her, but she just needed to keep it a little hush-hush. At this point, the only other person in the fitting room was that older man I had helped, and after I finished helping her buy her item, I went to the front and grabbed a plastic bag so she could put her shirt in it, so it wouldn't look like she just walked out with it. The woman was so grateful she gave me a hug. Then she thanked me over and over and told me it's so wonderful when someone actually gives good customer service. And the man was right there and agreed and said, "You give wonderful service, thank you so much." And they were basically praising me together and making me very shy about it because I felt what I had done was no big deal. I often go out of my way for customers that I can tell are in a rush, or have an overwhelming day, or just genuinely need the help. I'll spend forever running around finding everything someone wants, and they won't even say thank you after, and it usually never bothers me. Except being thanked properly, being told I did a good job. I felt like I was doing something good at my job even though all I do is scan clothes and find clothes for people. It means so much when someone notices I am working hard to get what they want done, and she hugged me too. It was very strange to get hugged by a stranger, but she was so grateful I was not bothered and was very flattered instead. Just wanted to say that a good customer experience warms my heart. I never feel I'm very good at my job, but when a customer tells me they can see I'm trying for them, then it means the world to me. A good experience far outweighs any bad one I've had. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to Adventures in Fast Food and Retail, number 94. And thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use their stories in this video. And I must say, those puppy employees in story number 4, shame on them. What I think had happened there, and this might just be my bad mind thinking, they had decided they were going to go out because obviously one of their friends was waiting for them, and they decided to close up the store early. Oz obviously had a lot of drinking and farting around to doing, I expect. But like I say, that might just be my bad mind and thinking the worst. Maybe they had a good reason for being such poopy ads. Ah well. With that, I'm going to head off for now. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourselves.